365 for apps is another valid way to deploy applications. So this is specifically talking about Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise here. So we can use the configuration designer. If we go to config.office.com, we can fill in the configuration designer to create our Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise package, which is pretty cool. So it generates an XML, and then we can deploy that through configuration manager, through logon scripts, GPOs, by Intune. But in order to generate the XML, pop along to config.office.com. I'll put the link on the slide there. Okay, we have this other option, and this is available to us in Intune, where we can deploy Microsoft Edge. And you may say, well, Ben, Edge comes with Windows now. So yes, Edge is pre-baked into Windows 10 as of 20H2. But we also have the option to deploy plugins. So this is a really cool one that I suggest you look at, the My App Secure Sign-In extension. So this allows us to give our users a single sign-on experience to applications we publish from Azure Active Directory. So I'll just leave that on the screen for a second longer. So the My App Secure Sign-In extension is something you should be deploying to Edge and Chrome if your users are using Chrome, a single sign-on experience. Via Intune, we can deploy web links. It is pretty much just publishing a shortcut in the company portal, but that's still quite relevant. So if you have a directory of web links in your organization you want to publish to users, use a web link. So the cool thing about using web links is that when they're published in the company portal app, you can search for them. So I guess it saves chucking loads of shortcuts on the user's desktop. It keeps things nice and tidy in the company portal. Okay, so we're moving towards one of my favorite options. It's not this one, but line of business is still valid. So the line of business application is a valid deployment option from Intune. And it's really designed for those kind of single executable MSI style applications. So if I want to deploy a single MSI to my users, or an AppX package, or a single exe file, then I'd maybe look at the line of business deployment model. Just skip back one there. Before I go on to the next slide, the important thing just to point out, because Paul was talking about autopilot earlier, when we're looking at deploying applications during that autopilot process, it's important to try not to mix your application delivery options. So the two that we commonly see are line of business apps and Win32 apps. So I would encourage you to maybe focus on, dare I say, Win32 apps instead of line of business apps, because if you deem those as essential to deploy during your autopilot process, if you start mixing them, then you may run into issues during autopilot. So maybe take that away as some good advice. If you're going to deploy applications as required during autopilot, my suggestion would be to focus on Win32 apps only. We have the Windows Package Manager as well, which is still in preview, I believe. There's over 2,500 pre-built applications now in the community. There's community packages. And to install these, we have to use the winget command. So we can download, use winget to search for an application, and winget install to install it. So these are all packages that the community have pre-built. So that's pretty cool. And I think this may be going live first or second half of 2022. So keep an eye out for the Windows Package Manager. It's a community repository, so other people are building these applications and posting them. So as I said, there's 2,500 packages. Maybe just be slightly careful on installing those packages. So there has to be an element of trust there, that you're trusting the other people to build the packages, because it's not Microsoft building them. There is some vetting going on, and I believe the vetting may get tighter and better. So it's just one thing to bear in mind. And this is really where I wanted to get to. So Win32 apps. So this is a love of mine. And the reason I love it is because just as, and I mentioned this earlier, we went from packages to applications in Configuration Manager, and Microsoft gave us a tool, didn't they? They gave us the Package Conversion Manager. Well, I see Win32 apps as that transition from line of business applications into Win32. The management options and the deployment options available to us in Win32 apps far outpaces a line of business application. And I'll just highlight a few now on this next slide. So we have delivery optimization, which is pretty cool. So we can start to use the branch cache options on-prem to kind of optimize the delivery of those Win32 apps. Microsoft Connected Cache Server, so it kind of plays hand in hand with delivery optimization. Multiple source files. So with line of business applications, we can have a single file, a single MSI, a single executable. With a Win32 app, we can have multiple files as a content source. And that could be an MSI file with a transform file, and I need a CAV file, and I need a license file. And so a Win32 app can take multiple files in your content source and deliver it from Intune. And we're going to show that in the lab in a second. We can specify install and uninstall commands. We can deliver applications in the user context or the system context. We can control the restart behavior for the applications. We can control behavior based on exit codes, and we can have custom exit codes as well, which is pretty cool. As with applications, we can set requirements. So we can say that the application should only install if it's a particular architecture, a particular OS version, whether there's a certain amount of disk space, particular type of CPU, and all those great things. Detection rules help us to understand whether the application was actually successfully installed. And typically we would use registry keys. So when an application installs, it will set a specific registry key, and I'll say, well, unless I see that registry key, you're not installed. So we can base detection method on registry keys, files on the hard disk, or we can use a script to detect whether an application was installed. And we can have dependencies. So I can say, only install this application if you have this application installed. So you may have a business application that requires something like a particular .NET Framework version or a particular runtime library. And so dependencies help us to do that. And as with applications, we have supersedence as well. So we're going to get in the lab now in a minute, because that's my favorite place to be. As I said, with a Win32 app, we can have multiple source files, and we don't upload those individually to Intune. Get attacked by a fly. Microsoft give us the Win32 content prep tool. Now, the prep tool it's like an archiver, really. So we point it to a folder with all of our source files in, and it churns some stuff around and spits out a single file, and we upload that single file to Intune. So it's like a wrapper of sorts. And once we've chewed up all the information we need from our source content, it spits out an Intune Win file, as you can see on this deck. So I specify my source folder, I specify the setup file, and the setup file is pretty important, because if I've got multiple files in my source content and I have an MSI, if I specify my MSI as the setup file, when I upload the Intune Win file to Intune to create a Win32 app, it's going to automatically populate some of the fields for my Win32 app. So it's going to put in the install command, a detection method, and so on. So it's a pretty important one when you're using the Win32 content prep tool. Okay, I'm just going to jump back a slide. Like I said, I promised I'd get into the lab. So let's have a look, shall we? What I want to show you, are we okay for time, Ernest? I've maybe got 15 minutes.
No, you have time.
So.
No,
Cool.
You have time. You have time.
I sped through that because let's get out the slides and get into the lab, okay?
Okay.
We all like being in the lab.
Okay. Okay.
So this is my Windows Windows 10 PC. Okay, so I want to show you the Win32 content prep tool. So that's a good place to start. So I'll pop this in the chat. This is the link to find it. Okay. So you're going to need this to begin with, okay? The Win32 content prep tool. And you can download it from GitHub. And I can say download. And there it is. So the Win32 content prep tool, when you download it, is called the Intune WinAppUtil.exe. Okay. And so what happens, Ben, if I double click that? Well, maybe as we saw on the slide, it's going to ask me 4 questions. It's going to say, where is your source folder? Where are your source files? So let's just run through this, shall we? So this is an example of me running this tool manually. When I download the Win32 content prep tool, I like to have a folder structure to work from. So this is maybe a key tip to take away as well. So in this example, I've created a folder in the root of my C drive called Win32 content prep tool. And you can see I've got the Intune WinAppUtil.exe, which is what I've just downloaded. And I like to have an input folder and an output folder. Yeah. So when the prep tool is asking me, please specify the source folder. Yeah. I know that I'm going to go into my input folder. And then in my input folder, you can see here, I'm just going to create a folder for each of my applications. So I've got WinSCP as an example, I've got a folder for architecture and a version number. So that's how I like to create my folder structure if I was using this content prep tool manually. And I've got another one in there for Notepad++. Okay. These are only single files, but it doesn't matter. This is just a short demo. And then the output folder is where I'm going to spit out my Intune Win file in readiness to upload it to Intune. And I've got a similar structure in my output folder. I've got an architecture, a version number. That's where I'm going to spit it out. So if we go back to the content prep tool, specify the source folder. Okay, so let's go and create the WinSCP as a Win32 app. So here's my source folder. So I'm just going to copy that, paste it in there. It's going to say, please specify the setup file. You have to specify this. You can't skip it. So I've only got one file. So I'm just going to use this file. Name there. And then say, what is the output folder? Where do you want me to create the Intune Win file? So I'm going to choose my output folder. Paste that in there. So you can see where we are so far. We've got a source folder, a setup file, and an output folder. And the last thing it's going to ask us, which I don't think you're going to have to worry about, is do we want to specify a catalog folder? Now, a catalog folder is important if you're going to be deploying Win32 apps to Windows 10 in S mode. This is where we specify a manifest. I don't see many people deploying to Windows 10 S mode. And if that is the case for you as well, we just say no here. Okay. And so this is all the information that the tool has asked us for. Source folder, setup file, output folder, and do we want to specify a catalog? And I've said no. So when I press return now, it just done a load of stuff. But what it done, it compressed all that data and it created this .intune win file in my output folder. Okay. So there's my output folder that I specified earlier. Cool. So with this file now, what I can do is I can go to Intune, I can click on apps, click on Windows platform, add, select Win32 app over here. And the first thing it asks you when you're creating a Win32 app is to select the package file. And that is the file that we've just created. So if I click on this link here and browse to my output folder, there we go. There's my Intune Win file. Press OK. Job done. Now, and I won't do it in this session, but now you can run through the different options in your Win32 app So I can say the publisher is me, app version 2. I can enter an information URL and lots of other cool information. I can specify the installation command, and so on. Whatever it is for the application, I can choose to install it in system or user context. But I won't focus on that. I want to focus on how we can maybe start to automate some of this. I think there's, if you go to msendpointmanager.com, a colleague of mine, Morris Daly, he's done a really cool blog post on creating Win32 apps. So if you don't know how to do this, have a look at msendpointmanager.com. It's a really cool blog to look at. Anyway, I digress. So that was the content prep tool. So that was really cool if I'm going to want to double click this each time, specify a source folder, specify a setup file, specify an output folder. That's okay. But if I've been using Config Manager a lot and I've got hundreds of applications, maybe I want to think about automating some of this. And so the cool thing is that the content prep tool does accept parameters passed into it. Okay, so let's try and get a bit funky with this. So if we go into PowerShell, I'll do it in ICE because it's nice and easy to see. Cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all, I'm just going to go into the folder where my content prep tool is. So if you can see there, there's my content prep tool, Intune WinApp util.exe. So I'm in the right folder. So I can say, I can use these parameters, okay? I can send these arguments to the Intune WinApp util.exe. I can send an S parameter and then specify the setup file. I can specify a C parameter to specify the source folder and an O parameter to specify the output folder. So, okay, that's cool. So this is just a simple script that I created earlier. And so what this is going to do is, if we just look at it there, I'm passing some parameters to my custom script, but the important ones are the input folder, the output folder, and the name of the setup file. So what does this look like? So this is a very simple script. So I've specified a variable for input folder, which is the same folder we chose earlier when we done this manually. I've specified an output folder, and I passed a setup file to the name of the script. So I'm doing exactly the same things as if I was doing it manually, but I'm just launching it from a script. And it actually compiled the same Intune Win file. So if I look in my output folder for Notepad++, there you go, there's my Intune Win file. And I'll delete it and I'll run it again to prove that this script is doing this. So run that script again, and it's just spat out this Intune Win file. Cool. So what that means is I can start to script the creation of my Intune Win files. Now I've only chosen one file in this simple example, but I can maybe now start to think, well, can I start to create multiple Intune Win files at once for my different applications? And the answer is yes. And this is something that I've been working on for my previous customer, and it's starting to pick up some momentum now. So the interesting thing is that I can PowerShell this, the creation of Intune Win files. But what about the stuff I've got in Configuration Manager? Can I get the applications that I've created in Configuration Manager, put them through some magic PowerShell and spit out some Intune Win files? And the answer is yes, you can. So we know that, well, hopefully we know, if we used to run the Config Manager console, I'll just go through this now. Do you know we have this option at the top to connect via PowerShell to our site server? So if we run this script, we're connected to our site server. So that's my site code for Configuration Manager in my lab is BD1. And I can use this commandlet called get CM application. If I was to run that, it would go and grab all of the applications in my config manager environment. So I want to be a bit careful because it's going to bring back a lot of data. So maybe what I'm going to start off with is select object, localized display name. Okay, so it's still going to grab all of the applications from my config manager environment, but it's only going to select that one field. So there are all the apps I have. Pretty cool. It's going to finish in a minute. Yeah. So get CM application. I can get my applications. Okay. Well, let me pick a specific application. Let me go for WinSCP. Okay. So if I say get CM application, it'd help if I could type. I think it's called x64. It hidden off the rest of the name. Wow. So what it's done is pulled back loads of information to do that single application. Yeah. And most of the information I need is in this field here. So SDM package.xml. And what Config Manager does, it stores all of my application information, including deployment type, the type of application, installation parameters, uninstallation parameters. It stores it within this XML file in the Config Manager database. And you can see there's a lot of stuff in there. And even all this matrix looking stuff here, that is the base 64 encoded icon that we see in the software center. So even our logos for our applications are in this XML file. So that's pretty cool stuff. So what can I do now? Well, okay, let me just, for example, expand the SDM package XML, okay? Expand property, SDM package XML. Cool. So now I'm actually getting the contents of just the XML file. Okay, that's cool. Now, I want to maybe create an object with the information in it, yeah? So I'm going to do $XML equals that command line. So that object, that $XML is going to contain just the XML data. So now what I maybe do is say create another object, XML content equals, and I want to convert this to a readable XML form. So I'm going to say create my previous object as an XML readable form. So now if I look at XML contents, object, cool. So $XML content, I can see I've got a proper XML encoded object here. So I can say, well, okay, XML content dot app management digest. So I'm now starting all of the XML information we saw earlier. I'm now starting to drill into those different elements. So I can say XML content dot app management digest dot application. There's some more information there in my XML. So maybe if I want to have a look, go even further into those elements and look at the title for the application. Cool, look what we've got here. I've got the title of the application, yeah? Cool. I'm not going to go any deeper, but what I want to prove is that we can use PowerShell to get the information from Configuration Manager for our applications. And wouldn't it be cool if we could get the information from Configuration Manager and then pass it through the Win32 content prep tool to make our Win32 apps? Yes, I hear a resounding yes. And this is something I've been working on. So I've got this tool called the Win32 app migration tool. And it's designed to do specifically that. It's a PowerShell module. It's available in the PowerShell gallery. And I'm going to go through a quick example before we finish this session up. And it's designed to inventory your existing applications in Configuration Manager and then spit out all the information you need to create a Win32 app. That's where the tool is today. So it's currently in beta release. And as you can see, it's a PowerShell module. It's going to go and grab all the details from Config Manager. It's going to export our logos, which is really cool. And it's going to create those Intune Win files for you automatically. In the next phase, the release phase for this tool, I want to create a Config Manager extension, console extension. So instead of running a separate PowerShell module, you'll be able to right-hand click the applications in Config Manager and say, create a Win32 app. That'd be so cool. And then in general release, what this tool is going to do is take the information from Config Man, create an Intune Win file, and then automatically create the Win32 app for you. So it's just going to be so easy to get those apps from Config Manager to Intune. That's my goal. I don't want to see anybody having to recreate all of the applications manually in Intune. It's just a waste of time, and there's a much better way to do it with automation. So go and grab this tool, and let me show you actually. So there it is on GitHub. I'm going to pop this into chat. So that's pretty cool. So there it is in chat if you want to have a look at it. So if we was to go into, let's go into PowerShell. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a bit so we can see what's going on. Hopefully that's big enough for you to see. So there are some prerequisites, and they're on the GitHub page for this module. One of the prerequisites is that you have to be able to spell install module. So this is how to get it from the PowerShell gallery. So install module, Win32 app, migration tool. I'm going to use a force parameter because I've already got it installed. I just want to show you it installing. So that's going to pull the module down. Cool. So that's on my machine now. And there's a single public function with this module called new Win32 app. So let's just show you what that's going to look like. I've got a text file here. Okay. So there are 3 parameters that you must specify when you run the new Win32 app command. So we have to specify a provider machine name. So our site server. We have to specify a site code. So we need those 2 pieces of information in order to make that connection to Configuration Manager so we can start to inventory our applications. And the other thing I have to pass is the name of the application that I want to find. So if I've got thousands of applications, maybe I don't want to just list them all. Maybe I just want to type in Microsoft and find all the Microsoft apps. But it will accept the wildcard input. Okay, so I'm going to run this. And what the tool does, it does a few things. I'm just going to go back into this in a second. But the tool is going to create a folder structure. It's going to create it on the C drive, the machine that you're running the tool from. You can specify a different folder. There is a parameter to do that. But it's going to create a Win32 app migration tool folder in the root of your C drive. And there's going to be some other folders in there. So when we run through the tool, all of our logos are going to be put into this folder. All of the Intune Win files that we create are going to go into this folder. And then we've got a logs folder, which is our main log file, so we can actually see what's been going on. But if I jump back to the tool, because I specified a wildcard as the application name, it's listed all of the applications in my environment. So I'm going to say, well, you know, we've looked at WinSCP before, and it's a lab, so I've got multiple copies of it. But I'm just going to maybe select one file for now and say OK. And so what the tool's doing, exactly how we done earlier using the get CM application command, it's going to connect to Configuration Manager and get all the information for the application. And so that's pretty unimpressive, really, that command. There's not a lot happened there. But what it has done is in this folder, in the details folder, we pop back to that folder and have a look. I've got some CSV files and I can pop in there, and it started to populate some of the information from the application to a CSV for me. So don't forget this tool is still in beta. So at the moment, it's just pulling that data out of Config Manager and then creating those Intune Win files. The next version of the tool will actually create the Win32 apps for you. But you need this information to be able to manually build those apps for now. So what if I add another parameter to this script? If I add export logo, yeah. So again, I can select the application. So if I find WinSCP, say OK. Okay, so it's giving me a warning there because I have the CSV file open. So that's pretty cool. So we got some error handling in the script, but I'm not so worried about that. But it did export the logo. So it exported the logo for WinSCP, and it's given me the folder name. Let's export it to. Cool. So let's go and have a look, because we all like our logos. And there it is. So it's exported that logo for me. We're getting a bit cooler now, aren't we? So what if I run the same thing again and gave another parameter called package apps? So let's have a look. You choose the same program. We've seen this before, haven't we? This is the content prep tool. So not only has it gone and got the information for the application from Config Manager, it's got the logo, and it's actually built the Intune Win file for me automatically. And the really cool thing is that we know with the content prep tool, we had to specify 3 parameters. We needed a source folder. So this has gone to our content source to get that. And we needed an output folder. So that's been taken care of by the tool. But we also needed to specify the setup file name. And what we do with this tool is we figure out what that file is automatically for you. So if there's an MSI in that content source, we choose the MSI for the setup file name. And so MSI will take preference, or we look for an executable, we look for PowerShell scripts, we look for VBS scripts, but it does it automatically. So if I zoom in here, where are we? There we go. So it's creating the WinSCP file. So there's the source content of the source files. And it's detected that this is an executable. So it's using the WinSCP executable name for the setup file to pass to the content prep tool. Cool. This tool does download the Win32 content prep tool for you. So it would put it into the content prep tool folder. And it just gives us a whole bunch of information. So it tells us where it's putting stuff. It's showing me the exact command that it's using to build the Intune Win file. And all of this information is available in that working directory. And as I said before, we also have a log file. So in logs, if I look at main.log, every single thing that the script is doing is in this log file. So jump over there for troubleshooting. Cool. Okay, Ben, so it's one file. So what? Okay, so maybe I want to package multiple files at once. So I'm going to choose, let's just go for 3 because we don't want to be here all day. So I'm going to choose Acrobat Reader, maybe Google Chrome. Let's go for WinSCP again and Notepad++. So 4 applications. And we'll just look at what the tool does. So there you go, it's found 4 applications. You see the content prep tool has popped up automatically. So what it's doing now is it's going through each of those 4 applications. It's grabbing all of the deployment types from Config Manager. It's making an inventory of them. So it's taking all the installation commands and detection methods and popping those into the CSV file. And it's creating the Intune Win files. It's exporting the logos. And so this is pretty cool. So now if I go into the logos folder, because I love logos. This content prep tool is still doing its thing in the background. So if I have a look at logos, there you go. And so we have folders with all the logos in for those applications. And these folder names look funny, but when you jump into the CSV files, so under the details folder, the deployment type has a unique ID, and the unique ID for the deployment type will match the marry up to the logo folder. But all of that information, all of the how-to is on that GitHub page on how to use that tool. And look, it's still packaging Acrobat. So Acrobat is quite a, well, Notepad++ actually in this case. There you go. And there you go, the tool's finished. So that's where we are today. So hopefully that shows you, I'm not trying to say this tool is awesome, but I think it's awesome. But what I hope it's showing you is that you can automate this stuff. So there are PowerShell modules out there to get stuff from Config Manager and then to start to try and automate some of this stuff. And a good friend of mine, Nikolai Anderson, he's got an awesome framework. So he's been working on a project where he can grab executables from the internet like Google Chrome. You can pre-populate a JSON file with some information, and he'll actually go and automatically create the Win32 app. So we're both thinking, well, if my tool is going into Config Manager and grabbing all of this information, and his framework is actually creating stuff in Intune, maybe the two can come together and we can work together to maybe make a complete solution where we take the apps from Config Manager and spit them out into Intune. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much covers the demo. I hope that's been useful in terms of maybe getting some of those legacy applications into Intune. I'm here for questions. If anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Absolutely. I mean, brilliant section, Ben. This was a surprise section, and it was really amazing. It was really amazing to just kick in and just do some wonders. We've really enjoyed the ride as well.
I always love talking about Win32 apps. It's a passion of mine. You know, you get sucked into different areas, don't you, at different times of your career. So for me at the moment, I'm quite focused on Win32 apps. Maybe in a few months' time, it'll be something different. But I just love the fact that we can automate this stuff. And I wouldn't have been able to get where I am today with this automation without other community tools. So I find a lot of value in other blogs, what other people are doing, the Twitter community, being able to answer questions and ask questions. And, you know, because I'm getting help from others, you know, I love to give back as well. So, and that's what I love about being part of this Microsoft community.
Yes, I mean, once again, congrats to your MVP award. I mean, it shows that you're doing really good work out there, and you've even demonstrated it today when we are celebrating our annual our summit. We are celebrating Microsoft User Group here in Ghana.
What was the name? Congratulations.
Yes. So I didn't get the name of your user group. I don't know if you can post it or in the chat or something like that.
Yeah, so we need to spin up again. We, as with most people, kind of during COVID, we kind of stepped down a little bit because there was a lot of work pressures on getting things working from the cloud. But yeah, I'll post it in. We have a Twitter handle is probably the best thing to follow.
Okay.
I'll pop it in chat.
All right.
So I do a lot of blogging as well on MS Endpoint Manager, and I'll put the link there as well, because I mentioned a blog by Morris Daly on how to actually create those Win32 apps and the whole concept around them.
Okay. We also love to have your slides, your presentation, so we can share it if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Hi, Paul. Yes, it's been pretty amazing. We thank you for bringing Ben online, and it was awesome to hear him demonstrate his skills and his passion for Win32. In fact, I was enjoying it. I was like, okay, you're doing some, did some good stuff, man.
Yeah, anything's possible if you have imagination. What I say with computers is computers are very black and white. You know, it's binary. There's a 1 or a 0. So there's always an answer. And you just have to have that creativity, sometimes passion, and sometimes sheer determination just to try and find it. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I'm just going to post the link to in it as well. So if you have a look at, so this is a few MVPs. blog on this website. It's a pretty cool website, loads of cool stuff. But if you go to their website and search for Win32 apps, you'll find the article that I was talking about. So I'm happy to take questions, or if you've got like a Q&A, I'm happy to hang around for that. But yeah, congratulations on your annual user group. Really good.
Yes. Thank you for that. We are actually at the last section. In fact, we are actually wrapping up. So I would like to know, attendees, if you still have some question. Paul and Ben is around. And I guess I'm not sure Peter is still around, but I mean, you can reach Peter on his social media handles if you still have questions. But on that note, if there are no questions to be asked, I will say on behalf of the community, I thank the speakers who passed through right from yesterday's event, Martin, Patrick, and Lady Ruth, our special lady, all the organizers, Audrey, Abukonde, Chesco, Patrick, Joshua, and Jifa, Ajua, Africanus. I mean, yesterday and today has been a wonderful day. In fact, I've really enjoyed this section. And I mean, I now get it why it is a summit, because this sections from Friday has been very much of the awesome sessions. It's been interesting. It's been very nice. All the topics, all the sections we held, and it kind of covered 360. Every part of it was, covered. So I would like to say a big thank you to our speakers, and we will be reaching you guys more. We will be reaching this. Definitely going to be more collabos and more co-presenting. And I must say a special thank you to Paul. Paul has been with me over some time, and I've really, really enjoyed his cooperation. I mean, we can even email ourselves like 10 o'clock. I mean, Paul has been very, very helpful to me. I would like to say a special thank you to Paul.
That's cool. That's cool. To be honest, Ernest, I've enjoyed you doing your first session as well. So well done on stepping up and giving it a go. It was really well done.
Thank you, Paul. Lady Ruth, I can see you in there. Do you want to chip in somewhere? Hello, Lady Ruth. Oh, awesome. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, Ernest.
Hello. Oh, hi. Yes.
Okay. Indeed, it's been awesome since yesterday. It's been awesome since yesterday, and I think the team has really done well. We want to appreciate everybody, especially our community members and our speakers, for your participation and dedication. I mean, internet doesn't come cheap in our part of the world, but for the fact that for the past 4 hours you've been online, it's amazing, and we appreciate it. That's what I would like to say, Ernest.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that comment. It's been really awesome. I've really enjoyed Friday and Saturday very, very, very much, and I can't even express it in words, because having a passion for the community, and I mean doing this since way back, and it's getting to this level. I mean, I'm really happy for the whole group. And today Abu couldn't end with us, but I'm sure maybe in subsequent events we would see how we would collaborate and do more stuff. So on behalf of the crew, I would like to say my final words. Chesco, will you want to give some word? Chesco? Okay, so Chesco will be joining me to say his final words for the day. So, yeah. Chesco, over to you. Unmute yourself. Okay, so Chesko was with me here in person, as you can see. So he had to step out of the room so that it doesn't echo. So yes. Chesko.
Thank you very much, Ernest. It was a great presentation from Ben, who just dropped in. He was just passing by it. I was shocked. Like, he just prepared the slide, and I saw MGG8 at the top. I was like, oh, this man is, I love this man. The passion over there, you know.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. This one should motivate all of us, those who are doing community work, to know that it's not about anything here. It's just what you love. What you love, just try and do that. To do it, and then you see the benefit. You don't need to wait for any income or whatever it is. Just if you have the passion, just go for it and do whatever you can do. Because seeing Ben experience here, he just joined us, and then within some minutes, just prepare his slide and start presenting. And everybody can do this. You don't need to contact you and say, okay, can you join us? And you are like, oh no, I have this, I have this, I have this. No. If you are free, do it for the community. And Ben, I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Frankie, it's very wise words. You're absolutely right. The thing I find with technology is, yes, people are interested in the technical, but I think people are more interested in the story. So your story, so your passion, your drive. So you don't have to wait until you think you're an expert in something. Share the knowledge you have, and it'll be something new to somebody else. And even if it isn't, even if you decide to join a user group and speak, even if what you're saying is just validating somebody else's knowledge, then that's going to make them feel good about themselves. So you're absolutely right. Don't hold back. Don't feel that you have to be smarter than you are or smarter than somebody else before you share the knowledge and the passion that you have. So absolutely spot on.
Yeah, I mean, I can add to that. To be honest, I tend to think if there's one person, even who's in the room, who learns one thing from the session, that's great. If no one learns anything, oh well. But if someone comes away with something, whatever that little nugget of information is, then it's great. You've helped someone on their journey. Yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And all the advice have been considered. I mean, the people who came in person, I don't know if I can tweak. We have some still left. I don't know in the house. Okay, so guys, you can say hello to our wonderful speakers. We still have some left here. So some to have stepped out.
That's awesome.
Okay. So I want to put them in record. They also stayed to the end of the show, and I'm happy to also put them on records because today was our summit. I mean, the impact has been great, and I know people have started even contacting me. We need the recordings. We need the recordings, and it's been pretty amazing. So on behalf of the crew, I would like to say that a big thank you, a very, very big thank you to all the speakers who have been in here since day one. We would say kudos, and we hope that the next time, maybe next year, we'll be having more in person and online. We want to see Ben, we want to see Paul. So I would say thank you very, very, very much, and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your weekend. It's a wrap.
Congrats again.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
again. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Yep.
Bye. 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 Thank you.